Hey Internet, it's Steve. So one of the problems I'm having right now is that I'm forming a vision for what this channel can be, for what my content can be, the types of things I want to do, kind of conversations I want to have, the things I want to. I'm not going to say impart because I'm not really trying to impart anything. I'm literally just kind of processing stuff in the moment. But if I do think about it, and what my attention is, I want everyone who watches this to know that you're okay and I'm okay, and it's okay to be genuine. It's okay to talk to people and be authentic and not try to get something out of them. So 4 months ago, 5 months ago, and my entire life before that, if I met someone, um, I would be wondering maybe what kind of advantage I could get. Not an advantage, against them, but hey, in knowing this person, is there something that I could get out of it? And it wasn't necessarily overt. I wasn't like, oh my God, I'm going to go talk to them just so I can, I wasn't like an asshole about it. I'm not, I've tried never to be a user of people, although that has happened. Um, but because I kind of lived in a world of fear of failure, fear that of embarrassment, of I wasn't good enough. Um, why would anyone want, why would anyone, want to hire me or use me? And it's kind of ridiculous, really, because I have some damn good skills. Um, and I've always known that they were good. I've always had a good ability to communicate. Yet, I don't know, it's 30 years, 25 years ago. No, 30 years. God, I'm getting old. In my career, I had like the best known name in something called Power Builder. And the reason that came about is this guy. So I was on CompuServe. Hey kids, CompuServe was the internet before the internet was the internet. Sort of. The definition will break down if you try to really parse it. So please don't. I don't need comments saying, Steve, the CompuServe was not the internet. It was an octal-based blah blah blah. Right? Somebody's spare capacity. My user ID was 727271115. I don't know why I remember that. I've remembered that forever. It's got a nice pattern and cadence, I guess, to it. However, I digress. Um, I bought that domain name today. Um, so, and I didn't intend to originally, but because I found myself saying it over and over in my videos, I'm like, all right, I'm going to buy that domain name. It might be useful in the future. However, I digress. So I'm on CompuServe and playing this game called Isle of Kesmai with my best friend Tim, who I had lunch with today, and his lovely wife Jane. And I got into this thing called Power Builder, and one of the support vehicles for Power Builder was they had a CompuServe forum. So you could go to the CompuServe forum and you could ask questions about Power Builder. Today we would call that, I don't know, Reddit and any website, support website on the planet. It was a community. And I just got on there and I started answering questions. I learned from people. I interacted with them and I said, hey, I really appreciate you helping me on that. Or, oh, you have this problem. Here's something I saw. And you just put yourself out there and you're helpful without expecting people to do something in return. And the amazing thing is there's so little of that in the world today. Genuine, I'm just going to help you and I don't want anything out of you. I mean, it exists. And it is all over if you look for it. But as far as like a percentage of the world and people in the world, we don't operate that way. And because we're fearful for our jobs, our relationships, whatever, finances, all that shit. And so I'm helping, and um, PowerSoft creates this thing called Team PowerSoft, and they reach out to a group of us who have been offering help, and they said, "Hey." Now I know on the corporate side they're going, "Look at all this free help we can get, and we can harness these people to become evangelists for us, and it will be cheap and effective." And they were right, because all they had to do was fly us up to Boston twice a year, maybe, meet with everyone. We met David Litwack, the CEO, who eventually became my boss when he bought my company. Beautiful person. Love you, David Litwack. Thank you for the opportunities you gave me and for believing in me. And for building Power Builder, because that shit was amazing. Silverstream was amazing. Unfortunately, the internet, spoke and it all went open, and it is what it is. But so this guy posts something on CompuServe one day, and he goes, "I'm thinking about making a magazine." And he sounded a little weird. He was a little weird. And I responded and said, "Hey, great. Love to help." And, he had some questions for me, and I was like, "I don't think you should do it this way. I think it should be this." I can't even remember. I think he originally said it was going to be free, and I think I said, "You know what? Don't make it free, because if it's free, people won't value it. We don't value free things that just show up. We might be like, 'Oh, this is great. This is free.' But, if you really value something, you're going to spend some money on it, period." And I'm like, "You're going to leave money on the table if you try to make this all like, completely 100% ad-based and free and all that." And that model can work, but I just didn't think it would. So we have these conversations, and then I get a message from him one day, Steve, and his name was Fuat Kirkali. Fuat is the publisher of Power Developer Journal, Syscon Media. He's Turkish. He is one crazy motherfucker. I love you, Fuat, and I apologize if I ever doubted you, because you are a force of nature. And when Fuat says he's going to do something, he does it. He may bend the rules a little bit. He may take a path that maybe is not quite the straight and narrow, and shortcuts. There was a whole issue about him not paying people, and I got kind of caught up in it. And somebody wrote an open letter to me in 1987. Breck Carter, one of the writers, hadn't been paid. He did an open letter to Steve Benfield, and basically admonishing me for continuing a relationship with Fuat and Syscon Media, because he said they weren't paying the authors. And that upset me a lot. I remember thinking, this is going to be on the internet forever, which you can probably go find it now, I'm pretty sure. And I knew he was right. I knew, Fuat needed to pay people, but I felt, look, this is a good thing. I think fundamentally at the end of the day, Fuat is a good person, even though he cuts corners and does all that shit. And of course, he was hard for money at the time, and so he wasn't paying people. It's hard to start a magazine. And so I was like, I have faith that this is going to work out. And I think it did. I think people got paid. And Fuat did extremely well. Fuat is the master of email spam, and one of the original people to just take his content and, oh my God, he used it in 18 bazillion ways, and he made a huge amount of money. He's got this fantastic house in Florida. And Fuat, I'm going to remind you of this. When we talked about starting this, you said you would give me 1% of Syscon, and you never did, and I never asked you for it. So do the right thing, Fuad. Send me a big ass check because I need it. Uh, I need it now. I won't need it much longer in the future, but do the right thing, Fuad. I love you, man. So, so basically, I'm going to get back to the story. However, I digress. I get this email from Fuad via CompuServe, and he goes, "Hey, I just finished the masthead for the magazine. What do you think?" And I open it up, and of course, back then, the graphic took about 4 years to download and open because we were at, I don't know, 1200 baud, 9600 baud, some crazy low number that people today just can't imagine how slow it was, because it's like millions of times slower than what we have today. And that's just a number that's hard to comprehend because this essentially feels like zero, which compared to today, it was zero. And it was a graphic image, and at the top it said Editor-in-Chief, Steve Benfield. I opened it up, and I was like, oh my God, this guy is asking me to be editor of the magazine, and inside I was like, yes! And I realized that's secretly what I wanted. I wanted to be editor of the magazine, but I never asked him for it. Now today, if I was interacting with somebody like that, I would have definitely said, okay, I'll help you, I'll do this, and I want to be editor of the magazine. I would just be open and ask for it. But back then I couldn't. I was very early in my career, and I became editor of the magazine. And we went to the user conference that year. I think this was 95, 94, I don't remember. And we handed out free copies. Because remember, it's like crack. The first one's free. And there I was in my suspenders. I was really into suspenders back then, kind of the 80s look, And I had hair, so much hair. And I was editor of the magazine, and people liked what I wrote. And I developed a kind of a personal style of self-deprecation. If you want to connect with the audience, a little self-deprecation helps, because you're walking in and saying, hey guys, I'm not all that, right? Yeah, you come here to hear me speak. I had 1,200 people sign up for my session the following year at the conference. 1,200 people. It was like half the conference. And I remember it was with my wife, my first wife at the time, came down with me that year, and we're sitting and eating breakfast, and I see somebody look at me, and I'm like, they know who I am, because they have that look, and they're kind of tentatively looking, and they came up and they said, hey, are you Steve Benfield? Oh God, I could have shot my wad right there. I was like, yes, I am. Thank you for noticing. Do you read? Yeah. Oh yeah, I read. Yeah, read the magazine. Thank you. And it was fantastic. I loved hearing that. And I remember Leanne, my ex, saying something to the order of like, you're going to have to get a bigger shirt because the one you're wearing will not fit over your head. And I definitely got a big head that week, because it was magnificent. Having people pay attention to you is fantastic, because you're heard, your voice is heard. And I was like, I was genuinely happy to know that people were connecting with what I was putting out. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I loved the attention. I loved the adoration. But I wasn't doing it for that originally. I wasn't writing because I wanted adulation. I was writing because I thought I had something to say. I was writing because I thought it would help my consulting business and I would make more money, and that was definitely true. It launched my career. Every once in a while I still run across somebody who says, oh yeah, I remember Power Builder, because I took that fame, or mini fame obviously, and I parlayed it into a training business. And I would do these training sessions, and it was $300 a day, all day, 8 hours, 7 hours, 6 hours, whatever the time was. And so I would go to Minneapolis and there would be 300 people in the audience because 3M was a big user of Power Builder, and I had 2 days of content. And so that's $300 times 300 people. I grossed $90,000 in 2 days when I went to Minneapolis. My expenses were who the fuck knows. Remember, this is pre-internet. And I did these 10-city tours. Now, my mistake was I was doing it while I was a partner in a consulting company with a partner that I'll just be honest with, I was better than as far as, skill-wise, business acumen. And Jeff, I love you, man. Jeff, I spoke at the Power Builder user group here in Atlanta that you ran and that you organized, dude. And after a few sessions, I finally got brave enough to stand up and say, well, here's what I'm working on. And it was the first time I've ever taught other people. I had taught classes before, like Excel and but nothing like that, right? Nothing where there was actually some real money involved. And Jeff, you recognized something there in me, and we started talking, and you invited me to be your business partner. Jeff Roberts, thank you. Thank you for trusting me enough to do that. And of course, at the time, I was faking being Christian. I did that for the first 20 years, up to age 32, because I stopped believing when I was 12. And I think I've gone over it maybe on some other video, but I'll talk about it one day. It was really stupid because for some reason I couldn't be myself because I needed acceptance and my father and all that bullshit. So we did CCS Consulting, Christian Computer Services, or Christian Computer Consulting Services was the official name. And I was like, I don't like using the word Christian in the business title, and I still don't. If you really revere God and Jesus and Christ, then don't use the name in your business unless your last name is Christian. Because what does Christian plumber really mean? I mean, I know what carpenter means because Jesus was a carpenter. But yeah, so Jeff, thank you for what you gave me and invited me to. But I should have done my seminar business on my own because I put a zillion hours into it, and Jenny Baxley was there to help me. Thank you, Jenny. You're amazing. Amazing. And so I did that for a few years. I got invited to Switzerland to speak. Rolf Andre, thank you so much for inviting me and my wife. And that's how I discovered Switzerland and became friends with all the other Power Builder speakers. It was magnificent. I loved it. Switzerland is amazing. And I got to do my thing. And I remember thinking, if I can go around and just speak and write and make a living, fuck, that's not even working. I mean, it is when you're, having to stand up for, days at a time teaching. It's very draining. Hats off to anybody who teaches, especially kids. Oh my God, adults are hard enough, but kids, I was exhausted at the end of the day teaching adults. I can't imagine what teachers have to go through with kids. I don't have that kind of energy, and so thank you teachers of all sorts. And all right, so where were we? Am I digressing? I got burnt out eventually because I was trying to do too much. I didn't have enough help and support. I didn't have a team around me. I didn't know enough at the time to say, I can trust other people to help me put this together versus doing it myself. I don't have to be the personal hero for all this. And it takes a team to get stuff done. And it just does. Anybody that is great or has greatness has had a team to help them. And you should recognize that team and you should honor that team because you cannot do it yourself. I cannot do this myself. I have big plans for this channel. I have big plans for my content. They're bigger, and if I guess I put them on some of my live streams, but they're bigger than even that. And anybody looking at it goes, oh my God, Steve, you tone it down. Don't be so audacious. Don't invite Ed Roland to your hot tub to have a conversation about music. And my response is, well, why not? Because you sound crazy is what they say. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck if people think I'm whack and crazy. Because I know I'm not. And I know what I have to say is going to resonate with people. And you know why I know that? And I just realized why I know that, because I have done this before, and I have been here before on a different stage, in a different life, with a different audience. And had I ridden that wave and remained in the mindset that I want to take my knowledge and what I know and I want to help people and I want to put it out there, if I had retained that, who knows where I would be today? Retired, maybe, although I'd still be working. I'd be doing this because now I've discovered this is what I want to do. So to me, now that I literally just made this connection here at like 21 minutes in this video on October 16th in the evening, that I have done this before. I have already ridden the bike with the training wheels. And that Power Builder Developers Journal and being the editor of that is one of the happiest things I've ever done in my life. I absolutely loved it. And I don't know why I stopped. I'm hitting my own self with some truth bombs tonight. I don't know why I ever stopped that. I think maybe the reason I stopped it was that my attitude changed from one of just wanting to help and contribute and write and get my voice out to one of how am I going to make money here? How can I increase my consulting? How can I do this? And my motivation changed. And what happened is I started running out of things to say. The Power Builder went out of style, the internet came, open source, all that stuff, and I turned from advocacy and evangelism of something I believed in, and I changed to selling something. And what I was trying to sell was the world of Silverstream, which was the next technology that David Litwack put together. And I was trying to sell the virtue of it. I wanted people to use it, because if that didn't happen, I knew the skills I had would go out of date. That's it. Because I can architect and design software solutions really, really well. I have the ability to understand what the customer wants. I have the ability to understand the problem they have at a very deep level. And I design things that are innovative to help solve those problems. And I try to solve problems they don't even know that they have. And so what I would do back then is I would go meet somebody, oh, we have this order entry problem, and I would build screens that they're like, oh my God, this fits like a glove. Now, the UI may not have been the best. Well, I know it wasn't the best because I shouldn't have been the one writing that code. I suck at production code. I am not good at that because I don't like maintenance. I only like to do new things. I only like to create and build, and then I'm gone. Because there's something new and shiny for me to work on that I can add value to. Because I don't add value in maintenance. I don't add value in production code. So why? I shouldn't even attempt it. But I've done it, and in fact I've done it recently because I needed the money, because I've had no financial discipline in my life, um, because I always had faith that more money was coming because it's always been easy for me. I made more money than my father in my first year of work, of real work. So, and I have this beautiful house, I have a beautiful family, my wife, and today, October 16th, I'm house rich and cash poor. I've got insane equity in the house, and we're working on pulling some of that out. But I know, because of what's been unlocked in me recently and the realizations that I've made, that people are going to be drawn to the content that I put out. Because remember, I've already been on the training wheels in a different universe, in a different audience, and a different time. And internet, I cannot wait to get to know you. I cannot wait for the fantastic conversations that we're going to have and we're going to share on this channel. And my promise to you, somebody was asking me, well, what kind of brand do you want to put together? And I'm like, you know what? I don't want to put the brand together. I want to be me. I want to be authentic, open, and honest. And at the end of the day, that's my brand. My brand is me. And my brand is my authenticity. And shame on me if I ever get to that place, internet, friends, where I look at what I'm doing here and say, how can I make more money? How can I do this? Because I guess the bigger secret I found this summer, I found a lot of secrets, people, a lot, and we'll cover them all in due time. The biggest thing I've learned is that if you want something, the best way to get it is to not want it. And I know that sounds weird. Put your own authentic self out. Do not try to coerce anyone into liking you, being with you, hiring you, because as soon as you have to coerce somebody, you're selling. You're selling something when you try to coerce in any way. And so, and I have to check myself sometimes because I have such confidence in what I'm doing, and I'm literally envisioning things that if I told you, you would say, Steve, you're fucking crazy. Why would anybody think that? Because I've been down this path before, and I've done the training wheels in a different time, different audience, different universe, all that shit. I'm very recursive and repetitive. You'll hear the same themes come up over and over. But what I'm finding is as time goes by, I'm just peeling different layers. I just keep slowly getting deeper and deeper into the onion. Like these realizations I just had tonight that I've had training wheels, that's a new one. And I've been trying to explain to myself, how can I be so confident in what's going to happen? Because it's audacious. I mean, and my family thinks I have family and friends that think I'm crazy. They're like, Steve, you've done too many drugs and it's fucked up your brain. I'm like, no, it hasn't. And then they get mad because they're like, well, you're not listening to me. And I'm like, no, I'm listening. I hear you. And I understand where you're coming from. I understand why you think that what you think. But I know you're wrong. And so, they're like, well, you're arrogant. I'm like, you know what? No. Arrogance comes from a place of confidence plus superiority. And I don't feel superior to anyone. Because I wasted 56 years of my life not being authentic. And come on. That's fucking ridiculous. And so I've always been selling something to somebody. Who I am, what I believe. And I'm done doing that. I'm just going to be me. And I know that the content I put out is going to have an audience. And I'm coming up on the 30-minute mark, and so I'm going to stop there. Thank you, Fuat Kirkali. Thank you, CompuServe 727271115. Thank you, Internet, for sticking with me here. I'm going to give a shout out to a couple people that have been encouraging me Jen Vaccaro, thank you for your encouragement and emerging understanding. Jen said, Steve, you are bringing a positivity that we need for real. Stacy Shoup, thank you. We had one of the most open and honest conversations where you just bared who you were without embarrassment, and I absolutely love that. And what did I tell you on that call? I said, Stacy, I think there would be an audience for the type of conversation that we just had. I think people are hurting, and I think they just need to hear people being real, because that's going to allow them to be real. So I guess if I'm trying to sell anything, what I'm trying to sell is that you are worth loving, and you are not your trauma. You are not your trauma. You are not your trauma. I want you to change that. I am not my trauma. 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 I want you to say it. I am not my trauma. Say it. I know you don't want to say it, people, but you need to say it. I am not my trauma. And you know why you're not your trauma? Fuck. I know the camera's there, but I have to look at myself to get some sort of feedback. I need an audience or something. I need somebody here to talk to so we can talk together and bring it to you. Fuck, I totally forgot where I was. Oh, Jen, Stacy. There's an audience for authenticity, because I think when people see us being authentic and telling about the embarrassing things in our life and the stupid shit that we've done or believed, or the hurt that we've caused other people because we were selfish, they're going to go, well, fuck, maybe I'm not so bad, or I forgive myself because these people can, and maybe there's a different way of living. I think this world needs authenticity in the worst way. It needs it in the worst way. And as much as I love the internet, and it's allowing me to do this, which you get to an audience, it has fractured us so much, because it allows the worst of us to get their voice, and that gets amplified, and it just, you're human. You can't resist the onslaught of the messages that are coming into your head from formerly radio, TV, talk shows, Donald Trump's Twitter feed, Nancy Pelosi's Twitter feed. You know, anybody that's over 70 in Congress, get the fuck out and make room for the new generation. Jesus Christ. Don't you have enough money? Why do you need more power? You're fucking old. Go enjoy yourself. Go watch Matlock. God. Give the rest of us a chance. Because you're fucking stuff up, boomers. Get the fuck out of the way. And Gen Z, you're not far behind, and I'm in that. All right, I said at 30 minutes I was going to stop. It seems like I've gone for an hour, but it's only been 4. Thank you, Internet. If you like this, hit subscribe, ring the bell. But what I really want you to do is I want you to leave comments. I want to hear from you. I want you to go, Steve, this is fucking stupid. Or, hey, I really enjoyed this. Or, hey, when you said this, it made me feel this. And I remembered my mom or my dad or whatever, and it helped me. That's what I want to hear. And one day I'm going to put my merch up, and you can buy my merch and whatever. I'm just going to put it out there. And this is going to be an amazing time, people. I love you. Bye.